Sometimes we forget why we're here. It's easy to fall off track. These help us remember.
These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Growing up, I had a dream, something no one else could see. Tell me what it means when your faith is falling beneath your knees and you can't breathe. Everything you see reminds you of what you're not or something you won't be. You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business. Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shame. And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes. This day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I wanna share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is.
Don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
If I had a voice that reached 100 million people, I'd tell them there's a reason that we're all created equal. Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given. Won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater image on the walls of where I'm living, and the words twisted and scripted remind me of something written. Faith is a gift that is given down to the people. If one believes it, one receives it. It's given if it is needed. Don't ever think you're trapped in a life that you never wanted. Your options are infinite, that's some mathematical logic. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers and these battle scars on my church. Not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers, these battle scars on my church.
Scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Well, hello everyone. You got me just sitting down in mid bra strap fixing. As I said, that's the bane of my existence. I don't get it. If these guys or girls can't keep a bra up, I don't know what will. Let me pull up on my screen here some introductions. And first of all, as I do, if I can find it, yes, I'm inviting you to my Patreon. Because it seems to trigger all the right people that I'm a capitalist. And yeah, today I told you guys last week that I had a promising job prospect, and I did. Until they said, you are required to have a COVID vaccine. And I said, okay, bye. If you're going to be that big of a dick before I even work for you, I can imagine what kind of authoritarian boss you would be. So no thank you. And it's not even that I have an objection to the vaccine in principle. It's just, no, you don't get to make me permanently change my body to work for you. You'd be lucky to have me work for you. So no thank you. That was a sign of things to come, and I have learned to run away from shit like that. So if you would like to help in the meantime, and who knows, maybe by the time things do pan out for me, I'll be doing this more. I'm at the point where I can do it a third time. I mean 1/3 time, so you can expect more content. Thanks to my patrons. So if you're one of them, thank you very much. Let's get that off the screen. And I would like to pull up my chat widget. Takes a minute to load sometimes because Restream can be a little slow. And let me move that right here underneath my little lady. And we will get started. I do have some clips to play for you all. And if I start coughing, Every time I leave town, I get a cold. When I get a cold, my throat is really scratchy, I cough, I sneeze. Every time I go out of town, that happens. No, it's not the Rona. But speaking of the Rona, when we were all, and talking brings it on, I'm so sorry. I better just calm. Maybe a beer will help. So we're all sitting there squished in this Southwest plane, right? And they say on the way out, for when you're piling out, deplaning, please maintain social distancing as you deplane. And we're looking at each other like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. We've been sitting like this for 2.5 hours and we're going to play this political theater? No, I don't think so. It's the most ridiculous thing I'd ever heard. So we're going to get right to this. I don't know how long this episode's going to be. It doesn't need to be very long. But it all depends upon if you guys have comments. And, yeah, mentioning comments there about a new variant, right? Yeah, no, I'm not putting that shit back on. Yeah. That really just looped me for... Sorry. The coughing is terrible. Every single time. I'm just going to have to get drunk. So, the LNC meeting. We had one on Sunday with the agenda, a bunch of agenda items. A lot of them didn't get heard. And, oh, thank you. There was a comment from William Smith that my speech to PorcFest perfectly summed up the essence of what libertarian is. Thank you. And I have certain LNC members to thank for that. I like how one of my friends on my wall said, you know, some LNC members needed to learn the instructions to a boomerang. Because that's exactly what's going on, isn't it? Thanks to them, my voice is amplified. They've turned me into a fucking legend. And yes, Chase, the PorcFest video is up. Not the Nick Spy Cam one either, which is real shitty with terrible audio. The professionally recorded one is up. I premiered it earlier today. It was the first time I got to watch it. And there's some hot takes in it, boy, because I was mad. I was mad. And I don't plan my talk, so sometimes what comes out of my mouth surprises even me. But I'm very happy with the way it came out. It was inspired. It definitely was inspired. And what was funny is that same weekend, well, that weekend, I was in Michigan, and Justin Amash was their speaker. And I think his speech was the exact opposite of mine. Let both compete in the marketplace. The funny thing is, moderates who like his speech want to throw people like me out of the party. And people like me are just like, let's see which wins. For Mr. Amash, you do you, boo-boo. But I'm going to do me. And be damned if I'm not. I used to be a lot more accommodating. Fucking LNC radicalized me even more. Because my fuck budget is depleted. It's done. It's gone. No way this video is getting monetized. You're not... YouTube tells you not to cuss in the beginning, and I think I shouldn't have done that. So any of y'all want to help me out with any super chats, this definitely is not getting monetized. Whew. I probably should have waited a couple of minutes before I started dropping the F-bombs, but yeah, I'm still very angry about what happened to me. I'm very, very angry. And I am going to start making some merch because I've got some hot takes, boy. And somebody clipped out one of my clips from the PorcFest. I clipped out one. My favorite clip. I'll play it for you guys. But somebody else clipped out another one where it said Gary Johnson wants to kill people for fucking cakes. I'm sure that's going to be taken out of context. Okay, I'm just watching the chat here. Thank you, everyone, for the compliments on the speech. I actually do want to pull up my favorite clip, if you will indulge me. And I'm just letting the audience build too as well. And then we will get right into the LNC meeting. I don't know how many people of you watched it. People of you. Man, my English today is really terrible. How many of you watched it? But otherwise, I'll give you the whatchamacallit, the summary of at least what I think are the highlights are. And I did clip out a couple clips from that meeting that I found amusing. I didn't clip out them all that I found amusing because I thought maybe some would be a little bit too mean. Though true. Okay. Let me pull this up. It's a very short clip, but it's funny. To me, I just laughed my ass off. So let me share my screen. Okay, you're looking behind the scenes in my YouTube creator studio. But I needed to, didn't want to do that. But I needed to do that so I could play it, because it's only a 7-second clip. 1 sec.
But you dared to say something libertarian, and the libertarians were offended.
My favorite clip. My absolutely favorite clip. And it's so sad, because it's true. They dared to say something libertarian, and the libertarians were offended, as libertarians are. It's sad. It's sad, sad, sad. Oh, boy. So I figured I'll play that one quite a bit. And the libertarians were offended! Okay, so for the LNC meeting. First item on the agenda is Ken Mullman the captain now? Per our bylaws and Roberts, yes, he was. That was his ruling. He didn't want to be, but he was the chair, whether he liked it or not. And he ruled that, even though he didn't want it. I always get mad respect from people who rule things as to what's right, not as to what they want. Now, I am kind of funny like this. I'm being somewhat sarcastic. I believe our rights and our rules are what they are, whether we like them or not. And if we don't like them, we can work to change them. But you can't change them or overrule them just because it's not the result you like. I know, I'm really weird like that. But that means you can trust me with your rights, because I'll protect your rights even when it's not in my best interest to do so. So, what happened? And I'll explain my vote, because some people might have thought my vote was a little wimpy, and maybe in one respect it was. It was out of my fondness for Ken. I plead friendship as to why I voted the way I did. So he made a completely correct ruling, and then asked everyone to overturn his ruling. I highly disagree with that. I love Ken, but that's not the right thing to do, because it sets a precedent and it tells the LNC it's okay to disregard our governing documents when it's not the result you want. And that's not right. And then the LNC members that went along with that, you don't overturn the ruling of the chair that you believe is correct because you don't like the result, or because the chair doesn't like the result. That's wrong. If we're going to be people of our word, which should have happened, it would have been way more complicated, it's certainly not expedient, is there should have been a discussion amongst the LNC, and Ken should have seceded to chair. He should have resigned and then got appointed as vice chair. Same result, but doing it the right way. And that's important. But there wasn't the political will to do that. Because oftentimes, many bodies, it's not just the LNC, they overturn the chair when they don't like the results. I never do that, ever. So on that vote, I abstained, rather than voting yes to sustain the ruling. Why? Because I had a soft spot for Ken, and I saw it wasn't going to make a difference. But there was no way in hell I would ever vote to overturn a correct ruling. I think it's unethical. Absolutely unethical. And I'll give it up to Joshua Smith. He was the lone yes. And afterwards, you know what? I said I should have said yes too. I shouldn't have let my warm squishies for Ken make me default to abstain. But I would never, ever have voted no. And shame on every LNC member that did, who believed it was a correct ruling. Yeah, Kenny Kelly, I agree absolutely with you. And if I could do it over, I probably would have voted yes. But I have a soft spot I know a lot of people don't believe it, but I do. I asked Ken, I had a point of information and asked him in the meeting, and he said absolutely. He did not want it. And yeah, Kenny, how will the delegates learn that you don't overturn a correct ruling if we don't model it? Do you trust, after watching the LNC, who's supposed to be the leaders of the National Party for the past couple weeks, what faith do you have in any kind of libertarian governance? I could tell you the amount of faith I have. That's what I have. Because I've been subjected to the tender mercies of libertarian governance, and I didn't like it one bit. The tender mercies of libertarian governance wanted to deny me due process. The radicals. It wasn't just the moderates. That's what's ironic. Not worthy to bear that name. So, excuse me. See, when I get all worked up, I don't cough. So that was the first vote. Then we went around for a god-awful long amount of time about how we were going to select the chair and agonized over whether it was going to be 10 days or whatever. What started to irritate me about that, though the LNC did back off, is the way everyone was treating the most minor of motions as a zero-sum game. Well, I don't need to think about it overnight, so no one else should have to think about it overnight. Really? Will it kill you just to give people overnight to think about something? Every battle is not a battle for your life, people. Sometimes you just let other people have their way, or at least compromise. It's just crazy to me. Absolutely crazy. But they did eventually get in the spirit of compromise, rather than battling over every jot and tittle. So, there's going to be nominations open for 10 days. And then on the 11th, there at least will be the start of voting with the ballot to close the next day, with possible candidates giving speeches. I have not made up my mind, and I'm not going to say who I'm going to vote for, and I'm also not going to nominate anyone, because it will be the kiss of death for them with the way the rest of the LNC feels about me. So I will not put that albatross around anyone's neck. But I am speaking to each of them, and how I vote will depend upon how they answer the questions about my suspension, about New Hampshire, about certain ethical things or unethical things that have happened on the LNC. And I will not vote for anyone who does not give the at least substantially correct answers. One chair candidate did answer, and he didn't agree with me on every point, but I felt he was coming from a good place. And the one point I don't think he got correct, he didn't have all the information on. And, but I could tell you my initial thoughts are, I want someone who's been on the LNC before. I don't think someone with no experience on the LNC can handle this. And I think it would be unfair to them, too. Very unfair to the LNC, unfair to the National Party, and unfair to them. I'm not saying, absolutely not. I'm just saying that's where my thoughts are at. And I'd like it to be an elder statesman of the party. Somebody generally well-respected and boring. We just need someone to warm that seat and keep drama down until convention. And I want it to be someone who will pledge they're not going to run. That's what I want. I want someone who I thought JBH was. Someone as boring as Canada. That's what I want. So it's going to be ranked choice voting. And yeah. So I will be speaking with chair candidates, and I might change my mind on it being somebody not previously on the LNC. But I can tell you that's a pretty strong opinion of mine right now. But I will not say who I'm voting for, because I'm not going to do that to them. Okay, just taking a look at the comments. And you guys are chatting amiably amongst yourselves. So the next thing, and the much more controversial thing, but though I have one more thing to say about the chair thing. I know the Bylaws Committee is probably going to amend the bylaws to make it so that the LNC elects the chair. To me, that's gross. Why would we want the chair to be someone the delegates didn't vote for? That's crazy pants to me. At least the vice chair, the delegates voted for. The LNC voting to put in chair? You want some... I don't want someone, particularly not this LNC, voted for. I want the delegates to pick. So us electing a chair already, I'm finding repugnant. In my opinion, Ken should have took chair and we should have left vice chair vacant. That's my opinion. I don't think our top people should be chosen by the LNC. We've seen how well we govern ourselves, don't we? Hey, Death. You rang. I love you. I know fundraising's not Ken's forte. I would have helped him. I'd had a fundraise. Plenty of people would have helped him. He could have gotten other former chairs to help. I'm sorry. I love Ken, but I think he was wrong here. And he thinks I'm wrong on a lot of things, so that's fine. Okay. So somebody asked me, what's wrong with the leadership? I wish I could answer that. I think that the LNC tends to attract petty bureaucrats who want titles. As I said in my Pork Fest speech when I was saying what I was, and I'm like, Game of Thrones, titles, signature, titles. I don't care. And the minute I start caring, I should go. Because it's hard, but I'm not going to tell you I don't see the temptation. I see the temptation to go along to get along. And you want to know what? I started doing a little of that. I should probably thank the people who stabbed me in the fucking back because they cured me of that. They cured me of that. I'm the anti-politician now because I seen politicians and I don't like the way they smell. JJ, you said the LNC has a duty to appoint. LNC has a duty to do a lot of things, and all they've been doing is making duty. And 5-year-old boys everywhere laughed. She said duty. Settle down, Beavis. Okay. So now, the more important thing, and the thing for which I'll have some clips for you, is this committee. The investigation committee. And I'm going to admit, I was wrong on something. I voted for it to be party members. I was wrong. And I can explain how I ended up getting to the wrong place, but I was wrong. If you want to understand how I got there, it was I actually said the words, I trust us to appoint a good committee. What the fuck was I thinking? If the words I trust come in the same sentence, even remotely near LNC again, kick me hard. Like, kick me so hard, I got to extract your foot out of my rear. Okay, that was mistake number 1. Mistake number 2, I felt an outside investigation agency wouldn't understand our culture, like how sacred the autonomy of the affiliates is and things like that. And I had a third reason, I forgot what it was. That was basically, third, I was really triggered and somewhat blinded by the fact that they wanted to put an LNC member on the committee. And that just kind of like looped me. Like I kind of lost some of my common sense getting so upset about that. So we appointed 3 party members to investigate us. Yeah, we're investigating ourselves. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. But we were supposed to appoint unbiased people. I'm not going to be naming the names of the committee members here. They're though in a way I should. I feel really bad because I'm going to be very vague here And there's 3 people on this committee, 2 of which I know virtually nothing about, and who I'm not referring to at all in any of my comments. Who, because I'm not naming the one I am referring to, they might get mixed up in all this, but I'm not a naming names kind of person very much. But one person on this committee has threatened, not threatened, excuse me. I'm thinking of something else. Totally wrong subject. I take that back. He has accused me of stealing something from his house when I was a guest there. It's Looney Tunes. But he won't tell me what it is. It keeps changing. Every once in a while he suggests certain things I might have stolen. Never filed a police report. And everyone knows how intimately involved in this whole thing with New Hampshire I've been. Do you think someone that's on the investigation committee that has a 2-year-long personal grudge against me, that has written me emails telling me how awful I am and how I need to go fuck myself and die in a fire, is an unbiased person to be on this committee? Do you think so? And the LNC was fully aware of his background, and they voted for him anyway. Why? To get even with me. It's political. It's all politics. Now, I trust the other 2 members of the committee. I don't know anything about them, so I'm assuming they're probably wonderful, upstanding, and that they will keep this other person in check. But yeah, do you think I have any confidence? When you appoint someone on there who's like openly trashes me? What happened to unbiased? And they're like, oh, well, someone has a grudge against you, that doesn't matter. Are you serious? Considering I'm the one who did the initial investigation? How much you want to bet this report comes back and tries to implicate me in some way? Or say I fucked something up when I was trying to help New Hampshire? Come on. I don't trust it. And I can't recommend any of you guys trust it either. Because I'll always shoot straight with you. It's bullshit. So they decided, no, we're not going to hire an outside agency. Because I moved to rescind because I realized I was wrong. And I realized I was wrong before I knew who was on the committee. But now I realize how wrong, now that I know. I wish I could be shocked. Wish I could be shocked. And knowing there's such a biased person, you think they're going to get any cooperation from New Hampshire? Maybe they will. I don't advise them. But leave, whatever. And the arguments against hiring an outside investigation agencies, Dustin Nana's, who I love, he's a god on the LNC right now. Dustin Nana's exasperation was mine. More than half, 80% of the objections raised are also true for this other committee. There's no time frame. There's no time frame for this committee. There's no definite scope. Well, it's the same scope as for this committee. The only legitimate objection they had is that we didn't put a budget in for it. But none of them moved to add a budget. None of them moved, let's decide we're going to do an outside agency, reconvene in a week when we have bids. No. So, we're like the cops. We're investigating ourselves. Wonderful libertarian governance. Nice work if you could get it. I bet, unreal. Am I in the twilight zone? I almost half expect to go to the next LNC meeting and we'll all be sitting there. And then all of a sudden they'll all start cracking up and go, we trolled you hard for the past 2 months, didn't we? Ha ha. This can't be real. Just absolutely cannot be real. What's next? What other fundamental libertarian principles can we violate? So let's play a couple clips. First clip is going to be of the LNC, at least one member, but others I think said this. I just didn't want to listen to that whole 3-hour meeting again, and but they got mad at me for saying there was corruption. So let me play the clip, and then we'll talk about it.
Ms. Harless.
People had asked, why is this our responsibility? I think that should be patently obvious. An action of this body caused, or at least part, caused this. We've lost a lot of members over it. I mean, members of this body. I'm not talking about members, 3 of our members. That's quite a bit out of a committee of 17. I don't really think the healing has necessarily begun. There's a lot of affiliates that are just really, really concerned. And we need to have answers on this because this is actual corruption. And we've got to root this out and figure out what institutional weaknesses may have caused this. There will never be healing until we know. And if we end up not knowing, at least we can say we tried. Otherwise, it looks like we don't really care. And I'm not going to name names, but people, getting very upset about bias. One of the nominees has accused me of a crime. I mean, how much more bias can you get when you have personal things like that? So no, and I'm sure there are other nominees that have something against there's other poison pills in here. This isn't going to work with this committee as it is. And I did raise these objections in the private list, and nobody really addressed them. So I don't have any confidence. We need to have an outside investigator. It's going to cost us what it's going to cost us because we screwed it up, and we need to make it right. And I'm going to try to get on the phone, Mr. Chair, because my ride is here.
Understood. Ms. Harless, are you able to continue on as secretary, or do we need to appoint a new secretary for this meeting?
Well, I'm going to try to stay on the phone to vote until I can get set up in the car. So for that 10 minutes, if someone could take over as secretary just for voting and things like that, but I will be able to resume once I'm in the car.
Okay. I noted earlier, someone noted earlier that Ms. Mattson is on the call. Is there any objection to letting Ms. Mattson take minutes in the meantime?
Can I object?
Yes, you can object, Ms. Mattson.
No,
Yeah.
I can do it. I wasn't prepared, but I did go grab enough information to step in if you need me.
Okay. Is the body okay with that?
Nobody better object.
So, all right. Then we will continue on. Next in the queue, I have Phillips, Valente, Adams, Bilyeu, Hogarth. In that order, Mr. Phillips.
Okay, I have a couple of things. First, to address Mrs. Hogarth's earlier objection, I have to admit to being one of the people that, in discussion with Mr. Buffman, brought up the possibility of just letting it go. I didn't make a conclusion one way or the other, but it has been brought up. Second, I have to object to the accusation of corruption by the secretary. That has not been proved, and so making that statement is not factually correct, and so I don't think that should be our position at this time.
Okay. Isn't that special? Listen, this isn't a court. It's never going to be proven in a court. But how much more do you need? He couldn't even say, well, that was a little strong. Let's just say potential corruption. Come on. The chair of our party signed a letter that the person who got the letter said he knew was going to be used to hijack the New Hampshire party, lied his ass off to us about it, and when I questioned him about it, he threatened to sue me, then resigned, and then voted to remove me. And that's not at least evidence of corruption, Mr. Phillips. And you considered perhaps just letting it go? Thoroughly disappointed in him for many reasons. But holy crap. That's one of the people I think just utterly betrayed me. And I'm going to explain to you why. Because you know what? This is my personal thing, and I get everything out. Some of you watching my wall may have noticed where I said I was given some gifts by 2 people that have since stabbed me in the back, and I don't know what to do with them. One of those is John Phillips. Now, the giving of this gift was 2 weeks before him saying he thought I was so terrible, I should be removed. But he gave me this gift just 2 weeks before. What changed in 2 weeks? Isn't this nice? He made this for me. But I was such a fucking awful secretary that I needed to be removed. Yet he made this for me. I don't know what to do with this thing. Feel like putting it on the fire outside. But I'm glad I have it because it just goes to show what changed in 2 weeks. You want to know what he told me in private? Because I didn't take his advice the night before. Oh, is it a pride thing? Or was 2 nights before? Disgusting. He gave me one for this too, but apparently I was really terrible that time too. Nothing changed in 2 weeks, except for his fickle feelings, wanting to ruin my life. You make me a personal gift and you try to ruin my life? Fangu, as my dad would say. Now you know why I'm so troubled over these gifts. I don't know what to do with them. They're wood. They'll burn. But I want to play for you a clip from public comment. This is Matt Kirby. He nailed it. He nailed it.
Okay. First of all, I guess I just want to say disappointed that we're not going independent route. It seems, I mean, we don't know if anybody, I'm not accusing anybody on the LNC of being culpable here, but if they were, I mean, they're the ones that are voting whether or not there's going to be an independent investigation. And really, it's like we just need somebody to look into these communications and emails. At the very least, there's question about whether JBH was involved. And I would like to see the scope of the investigation expanded to see if there was collusion to retaliate against the secretary by members of the LNC. The timing, everybody says it's, you know, she has a long history of behavior issues. Well, why didn't you address it way back then, is my question. Why is it when she blows the whistle, that's when you want to handle that? I think it's ridiculous, and I really hope that they think about the optics from the members, because having you know, general body members doing the investigation, we already know that people think that New Hampshire shouldn't have got their data back. They tried to justify that, so we have a right to question their judgment if they thought that there was even a chance that they shouldn't get it back. So I don't know. I think that there's too much bias involved, but I'm disappointed. What's done is done. Thanks.
Goat. That's all I can say. Yeah, there's the other evidence of corruption, Mr. Phillips, and you were part of it, even if unwittingly. They definitely retaliated against me. Immediately after I asked the question that caused our chair to resign, me and Joshua both, Richard, who's best friends with the chair, with a heavy heart, I bring this motion. Really? So, immediately after that, Richard brings this surprise motion, and the shamed chair jumps over my head to start the ballot when it's my job. But good thing he did, because he fucked it up. And then votes on it before he resigns. You don't think he colluded with Richard over that? You don't think there was a flurry of little messages going back and forth over that to get even with me? You know damn well there was. Now, it might not be an email. The investigation might not get it, because I suspect it was probably over text or by phone. But you know damn well those two colluded. And that is why our former chair's spouse posted that picture of JBH sitting on the beach with the caption, going over the secretary's head in order to get revenge or something, you know, this snarky little thing. I should find that post again, because it was planned. There was definite whistleblower retaliation. And that's corrupt. Sorry, John. That's corrupt. Yeah, Richard's saying he got a majority to agree with him. Just means that, when there's a corrupt body, usually the majority does want to shut up the whistleblower. Anyone who doesn't see me as a whistleblower and this just isn't fucking paying attention. Come on. The timing, the collusion. And Matt Kirby had it right. If I've been doing this for so long, why wait? And the fact is, I don't do any different than anyone else on the LNC. And one of my biggest accusers, see me, at least I know when I'm pissing everyone off. One of my biggest accusers is so unself-aware that they think they're liked by everybody on the LNC, that they're the paragon of virtue, and have no idea the way the rest of the little fuckers talk about them behind their back. At least I know when I'm disliked. But one of my accusers thinks their shit don't stink. Meanwhile, everyone else is walking around them going, woof, that stinks. And they're not going after Josh because they didn't get me first. Josh was next. And Ms. Prepper, yep, you could definitely vote for me in Reno. You could have voted for me even if they did remove me. Removal doesn't prohibit from, and they didn't, by the way, I'm still there, rerunning. So either way, I was running in Reno. The only question was what I would be running for. Because I said if I was removed as secretary, there's no guarantees that I would just choose to run for secretary. If I kept my secretary seat, yeah, I'm going to run for a third term. So, yeah. And who actually has custom meetings? Not me, because I know a time and place. I save my F-bombs for my personal wall and my podcast. Very few people in the actual meetings are as professional as I am. And yes, I do believe if Longstreth had the choice, he'd ban me from running. The authoritarian, ruin my fucking life impulse. And I want to say this each time because a lot of people hasn't sunk on them yet. He also tried to kill the historical project because he wanted to remove me from everything. How a vindictive bitch do you have to be to do that? Okay, so that's what happened at the LNC meeting. So, that was basically it. And so we'll be meeting on the 11th. And my goal for the rest of this term is just to do my job and stay away from those people. And I don't know yet what I'm going to do with Judas's kiss of a present here. Now do you understand why I'm so hurt and upset? You got someone who gives you something as beautiful as that, and 2 weeks later they're stabbing you in the back? I'm going to have trust issues for a really long time. Ain't that something? So any other questions about the meeting? Anything that's coming up? Any upcoming votes? Or anything of the sort? I would be very glad to entertain it. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to add. I don't think so. I'm still recovering from Porkfest and all of that. Oh, one other clip I wanted to show you. Well, we'll see if there's any other questions. Yeah, Penelope, I don't know if he disclosed that gift on his conflicts of interest. He might have been trying to bribe the secretary. Seems a little suspicious to me. And no, the Radical Caucus won't address this issue because a Radical Caucus founder is one of the ones who wanted to remove me. It's ridiculous. And who's out spreading the message of radicalism? Who's getting invited to Porkfest? Yeah, ain't none of them. But I wanted to play something for you. Oh, I don't want that. Now you can see how boring my personal emails are. You don't want to see the LNC ones. I want to go back to my channel here. Yeah, I wanted to play this because this is vindication. Okay, that was sweet, sweet vindication. Okay. Oh, whoops. Let me quit that. Didn't mean to do that. Okay, here we go. And did you guys hear that clip? Because I wasn't even sure if I was playing it through the thing. Let me know if you just heard that clip. Ah, you can't see here. Sorry. Then let me play it. I get to hear it for a second time. I'm so sorry. Let me cue that up again. I'm not so good at this when I don't plan it. So thank you for letting me know. Just give me a second. Because you guys are going to love this. Because you saw by my reaction, I was loving it, right? Every once in a while, I got to play something to keep my spirits up. Because, you know, when people tell you you're a piece of shit so many times, no matter how secure you are in yourself, you do start to feel real small. And I've been told I'm a piece of shit from the LNC too many times. And it really was starting to affect my psyche. So hold on, I'm going to cue this up. Let me hit pause. Okay. Now let me share this screen and then you'll be able to hear it. Yeah, the reaction was good, right? So now you saw the reaction. That's funny because I was just going... Okay, here we go. Let me play it now. Okay. Let me find my start button.
We found out a lot about who's who in this party over the last couple weeks, and we found out who our heroes are, and our hero is Karen Ann Harlos. That is our person. Well, Joe Bishop Henchman ain't laughing on a beach anymore, is he? All right.
Okay, you gotta admit that was classic. That was classic. That was vindication. It was much more intense in person because you couldn't see from the camera angle, but I didn't expect that for one thing. I was just there to hear Dave. And everyone stood up and I like was kind of in the middle and turned and faced me. Like, it was intense. It was very, very intense. So, all I know is that my accusers eat your fucking heart out because you'll never get that. And I'm not usually a petty bitch like that, but I think y'all will indulge me. So, I want to answer some questions. Is the Radical Caucus worth joining? Yes. If you align with their principles, it's the same reason why, even though the National Party is a shit show right now, yeah, you should join the National Party to turn it around. If you think it's worth saving, and I do. And I think the Radical Caucus is worth saving. The Radical Caucus is my first love. The Radical Caucus is what radicalized me. Susan Hogarth is one of the people who radicalized me and then stabbed me in the back years later when I'm fulfilling the vision of what I thought she wanted us all to be. You guys don't really know all the backstory why I feel so betrayed. But yes, join it and turn it around. I'd like there to be something for me to come back to when I could be in a caucus again. The shell of it is beautiful. Their philosophy is beautiful. But yes, the LPMC is more organized, which is why I spend most of my time, even though I'm not in a caucus. Why do I hang out with the LPMC people? Because they're getting shit done. I'm not interested in these little clubs. Why don't I post in the Radical Caucus group more? Because Susan deletes my posts. Anytime I post something that's critical, it's divisive. Oh, you can't call radical people to account? Okay, I see how it is. Or they turn off commenting. Just go and look at some of my past posts. You'll see comments are turned off. Why? Because I'm critical of Susan? Make something worth saving. I'd like there to be multiple caucuses for me to come back to. I'd like to rejoin the Radical Caucus when I'm free to join caucuses. Right now, I guess I would. I would to try to change it if I were free. If I were free to join caucuses right now, I'd definitely join the Mises Caucus, and I'd probably join the Radical Caucus. But I'm not free to join caucuses right now because I don't believe LNC members should be members of caucuses. But remember, I'm one of the people who helped reorganize the Radical Caucus. Some of the newer people don't realize how intimately involved I was with them. Some people, their first memory of a national convention is me doing floor work for the Radical Caucus with the lightsabers. For a lot of people, that was an iconic moment. Like, my heart is broken by the way I've been betrayed by the Radical Caucus. I put so much into them. So, yeah. Just checking to see if there's any other comments. Otherwise, I'm going to go. I might do another stream tonight. It won't be political. People have been asking me just for some story time, like life story type things, which is more for the mushy people who want to get to know me better. It wasn't really a lightsaber. It was a parking, in the parking lot where the guys have the lights that are directing, or planes, pulling the plane into the runway. So it was red, green, and I think purple, but we only used the red and green to signal for votes. Like, this is a good proposal, vote for it. This is a bad proposal, don't vote for it, type of thing. So, yeah. And the Radical Caucus has turned around and stabbed me in the back. Not the whole caucus, obviously, because there's people in the Radical Caucus right here in chat. But the founder did. One of the founders. And when members write in, because, you guys aren't all paying attention to the LNC the way, thank God, you have a life. So there's still letters coming in saying vote no on my suspension motion, because they don't keep track. All they know is this was a letter they needed to write. And they got around to it. Susan writes back and says there's no such motion currently on the table. Do you think that really addresses what their concern was? It's technically true. But they're saying vote no, and she voted yes, and she's not dealing with that. Politician move. It's not honest. It's not honest at all. It's like when the affiliate promotions was removed from Dave Smith and Tom Woods, and the members didn't word their complaint exactly, and LNC members would seize upon their wording and just twist it around to say they were wrong, rather than trying to figure out what they were really asking and what their real concern was. It's dishonest. So, pardon me. Okay, that's it, I guess, for tonight. I appreciate you all, and I hope I'll be doing more of these LNC breakdowns, and hopefully other ones won't be quite as personal. Obviously, these past few have been very, very personal to me. I don't normally take any of this shit personally, but there's no way you could not take what happened to me personally. But my aim is to teach you all more about the inside baseball. That sort of thing. Because I realize there's an opacity. And, hey, the only thing that's more fun is a homeowners association meeting. So, thank you, everyone. And I appreciate you, too. Bye-bye.
what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business.